I want to welcome in Roy Hall to the program. Thank you for taking your time out of your day to be with us, man. And how are you feeling today?
Everything is going well. 70 degrees in the great city of Columbus, Ohio in November. You can't beat that, man.
Oh, no, you can't. It's awesome. I wish all Novembers in Ohio could be like this, man, where I can walk out my door in shorts. Oh, that's perfect. But, all right, so I wanted to talk to you about start off with your childhood. You were raised in the greater Cleveland area, South Euclid. You were raised by a single mother, but yet you were always an honor student. And, you played amazingly on the football field, and that got you a scholarship from Ohio State. What gave you the drive and the motivation to be the best you could be and be this amazing student athlete on and off the field?
Early on, my mom kind of gave me some good advice, and she said just make the most out of every one of your opportunities. And she said, if you want to help me, obviously her raising my sister and I by herself, if you want to help me, I know she knew I couldn't get a job at the time or whatnot, 7, 8 years old. She said, if you want to help me, just go as far as you can academically, be the best you can be, keep those grades up, and with your athletic ability, we'll see what comes out of it. But she always pushed college and always pushed my education, and seeing that was the best vehicle to have opportunities and doors open up for me in the future. And so when I got in the classroom, I just wanted to be the best. I mean, I had no other motivation other than I wanted to show my mom that I could do exactly what she asked me to do, and understanding the challenges that we were dealing with financially and structurally as a family. I felt like that was the best way for me to help her and take some stress off of her plate. And so, K through 12, I wanted to be the best that I could in the classroom. I was sitting next to the smartest person, and because of that, it wasn't so that I could look off their paper. I just wanted to see what their grade after the fact. So if they got 100, I wanted to make sure I was in that 90 to 100 range with them to get an A as well, understanding that I probably could get, a 90 or 95, and maybe they got 100, but I knew that I could do what they could do academically, but they couldn't do what I could do on the athletic field or basketball court. And so that was my motivation, man, just to make my life and put myself in a position to take care of my mom when I got old enough to do so.
You were recruited by Coach Tressel, the legendary Coach Tressel. You didn't play. You were a redshirt freshman. You were redshirt that first season when they won it all and beat Miami for the national title. But you were part of that team. Can you kind of explain us the range of emotions and what was going through your mind the whole season, and especially that national championship game when it was like, man, I made the right decision to come to Ohio State?
There was a lot of transition for me. I mean, as a freshman, you come in with aspirations to play. You feel like you want to get on the field some way, somehow. And to be redshirted, you got to look at it like it's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean you're not good enough. It just means that we feel that in the future you would add more value to the team than you would right now. And so instead of using up a year where we can't get the maximum effort out of you, so to speak, or can't utilize you as best as we can in the future, you have to redshirt, and your mindset changes because you're not going to get on the field. I mean, all through training camp, you're fighting to try and get in a position to play. And so once you find out you're getting redshirted, your role changes, and so you're playing more scout team. Every week you have to put on a scout team jersey and maybe a scout team color helmet. And, you really have to humble yourself and give your maximum effort, but knowing that no matter what you do on the practice field, you're not going to play. But kind of building on your role and accepting your role and excelling in your role is why I believe that we were able to win a national championship, because we had some great talent that redshirted that year. I mean, you're looking at Troy Smith, who ended up winning a Heisman Trophy his senior year, our senior year, Santonio Holmes, myself, and a few others were playing on the offensive side of the ball on the scout team. And so we had a lot of guys and NFL talent playing scout team. And because of that, I think those seniors and juniors and those starters that got a chance to play in those big games, we pushed them to the max in practice. And so I can remember when we played Miami University, I had to be Kellen Winslow. I had to play Kellen Winslow for about 4 weeks or so at the tight end position. Now, I wasn't a blocking tight end, and neither was Kellen Winslow. But because of my speed and because of my receiver ability, it got them prepared to face off against Kellen Winslow. Now, he finished with 100 or so yards receiving, but he probably could have had 200 if they weren't used to seeing that type of speed and route running ability. And so it was a lot of fun. I definitely made the right choice winning a national title. Our freshman year was absolutely awesome, seeing the likes of Mike Doss and Donnie Nicky, especially Mike Doss coming back setting the tone his senior year when he could have went and been a first-round draft pick in the NFL, said a lot to us and showed us what real leadership was about and what real sacrifice and selflessness was about. And because of that, I think we embraced that and put ourselves in position to win a couple national titles the few years to come after that.
You were part of that amazing 2006 team, you know, Troy Smith winning the Heisman, that huge win over Michigan. But you came up short in the national title run. But that team is still viewed, at least in my opinion, that might be the most incredible team in Ohio State history. There was so much talent on that team, as you touched on. What was that season like for you, and what were some of your favorite moments from that season?
The entire season was absolutely awesome. You know, we came out, you know, number one ranking and all those different things, and carried that all the way through. Maybe number 2 or number 3. I can't remember what the preseason rankings were, but what I know is we finished. That Michigan game was the highlight of the year, senior year. It was a 3:30 kickoff, I believe, and by the time the game was over, the lights were on. It was a night game. The crowd rushing the field, and 42-39 victory over that team up north. You know, those are the moments you dream for and live for. Senior day, you got to be on the field with your parents and mom and get announced and recognized for your contributions to the program over those 3 or 4 or 5 year period. It was just awesome. That entire season was full of explosiveness from the offensive side of things. Our defense was playing well. I mean, you had talent all over the field. Malcolm Jenkins, Kurt Coleman, obviously on offensively, you know, Ted Ginn Jr., Anthony Gonzalez, myself, Troy Smith, Brian Robisky, Brian Hartline, Beanie Wells, Antonio Pittman. I mean, the list goes on and on and on of NFL guys that were on that team. And so it was very, very exciting. Obviously, we came up short, and that's the one thing about that team that obviously always stick out, is that we lost to Coach Meyer and that then Florida team. And so we could have went 14-0 again that year, I believe, and we didn't pull it off. But it was just a great season from top to bottom, and then obviously being drafted for me personally afterwards stood out as well.
And I want to talk to you about the NFL here in a second, but one more thing about Ohio State is you played for Coach Trussell, and he's always been a leadership, and, you know, he wrote the book, The Winner's Manual, and you probably learned so much from him. What is one lesson or memory of him that resonates with you to this day still about him?
The words, remember who you are. And he used to say that to us after every game. He would say it to us, you know, sometimes just in reminding us to understand that the platform of being a Ohio State football player is much bigger than just putting on a jersey and playing in the football game, and that the impact that you can have on people and everything that you say and everything that you do is much greater than the impact of scoring a touchdown, and that being a Buckeye is so much more than just, you know, throwing and catching the pigskin, man. It can go. It's an eternal bond almost, where, you know, just because you're done playing doesn't mean that your level of influence or your sphere of influence shrinks. It means that the responsibility is greater now to show people what Buckeyes do on and off the football field. He was more in tune and more focused on building men and winning with men of character than just winning a championship with just guys that had talent. And that is something that's not normal. It's very uncommon in the coaching field, where a coach is more enthused about building the character of a young man versus building a championship of a football team. And so he felt like if you can build the young men and you have men of character, they'll eventually be the reason why you win a national title, and you don't have to have the best talent in the world. As seen in 2002 when we went down and beat probably a more talented team in that Miami Hurricane team. But the fact that we had men of character, men who understood how to handle adversity and had been trained to have the mindset to never give up, is what I remember most. Just remember who you are. Like you're not bigger than the Ohio State program, and the responsibility that you have as a Buckeye is much greater than just being a football player.
That's a great lesson. I always pictured Trussell as that kind of guy, the kind of guy that's like, you're not bigger than the program. You know, this is Ohio State. You come here to be a part of the program. And also, this is a question that a lot of people want to know. I am a student here myself, but I understand that being a student athlete takes way more time and effort. What's a typical day being a student athlete, especially at a huge program like Ohio State? Take us through a day in the life of a student.
Generally, especially for the freshmen, but I can remember my freshman year, you wake up early. You know, you have to go to an hour and 15 minutes, or hour and a half of like study hall, study table, whatnot. You know, so you get that work done before classes for the most part start. You know, so you're there at 7. You're out around 8:30. Classes start, 8:35 or so. So you're in class from 8:30 until approximately 1:30, sometimes 2 o'clock, probably about 1:30. You go over you get you something to eat, and then you go over to the practice facility. Got to get taped up, and then next thing you know, you're in film, and then you're on the practice field, and then you're in more film after the practice, and then you got to get iced up and stretch and all that good stuff. So you're at the Woody Hayes facility normally from about 2 o'clock till about 7 o'clock every day, and then at 7 you have to go back to whatever that study hall facility is and get your work done. And so you're studying and doing work till 9, 10 o'clock, 10:30, 11, however long it takes, and then you go home and go to sleep. That's pretty much the routine as a student athlete, in season that is. And so, you're spending 4 or 5 hours at the practice facility where a normal student will have that opportunity to either relax or get their studying done early. And then because guys got to make sure they keep their grades up.
Yeah.
There is no, hey, I can have a low GPA. I mean, everybody, at least at Ohio State, I know that they want the entire football team to have at least a 3.0 GPA. And I know for all the student athletes at Ohio State combined, every single sport, I know for a fact that they're at a 3.02 GPA for all their student athletes. So that just lets you know how serious academics are at Ohio State.
Oh, of course. Going on to the NFL, you were drafted in the 5th round in the 2007 draft by the Colts. I believe it was the season they were just coming off the Super Bowl win. I can't remember if it was 2005 or 2006. But you were on the same team as incredible leaders as Peyton Manning and, the legendary Coach Dungy. What were some lessons or things that you learned from those two that helped make you a better leader and, kind of help you in life nowadays?
Well, for those two guys specifically, you learn how to prepare being with Peyton Manning. He was a perfectionist, and he's probably the greatest quarterback and one of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history because of what he prepared and how he prepared. The separation is always in the preparation. So he separated himself from the masses and from every other NFL quarterback and player because he prepared harder and longer than anybody. He was ready and prepared for any thing that could come his way. The reason why he really didn't get sacked in his prime that much, and really even now today, is because he orchestrates what everybody's doing. He's prepared for what the defense is going to do. He's seen every type of blitz, every type of defensive scheme. He's watched more film. I mean, the guy watches practice film from 10 years ago if he's playing a certain defensive coordinator that might have been with another team that they were practicing against 10 years ago. I mean, he's just overly prepared, but he doesn't want to get caught off guard with anything. And I think it's a great lesson in life to just keep preparing it and always stay outside of your comfort zone. Your comfort zone is your failure zone. And he was never comfortable. He was always purposely making himself uncomfortable in practice and coming up with crazy scenarios in practice. Or what would you do if this would happen? And what would you do if this would happen? I mean, those are the things that you pick up that you could use in life and moving forward in business as well. And then with Coach Dungy, I think just being uncommon, not conforming to the way the world does things from a coaching standpoint. Coach Dungy was a man that never cursed, never raised his voice, as far as I'm concerned, and never made you feel less of a man. He just commanded respect. He had one rule: be a professional, and he would define being a professional as knowing what to do and doing it. No more, no less. You don't have to go above and beyond. You definitely don't want to underachieve, but make sure that you know what to do and do it. And as long as you know what your job is and you do it, we'll be fine. And if you can't do it, we'll find somebody else that can get the job done. But he wasn't one of those coaches that cursed you out or, he just made you feel less of a man, like many coaches do at different places. He said, you know what, I'm going to just do it the right way. We're going to do what we do. And so not having to be like everybody else to get the same type of level of success and being able to have success, doing it his way was something that I definitely took from him.
Tell everybody out there I know a little bit about it. You do so many educational programs with the Driven Foundation, but could you please tell our listeners some more about the Driven Foundation and explain to them exactly what it is you do here around Columbus, and now you're touching into the Cleveland area too. What are some of the things you do with this foundation?
Well, we're huge on partnerships, but at the end of the day, we promote perseverance. We instill hope in families in need through our food outreaches, mentorship programs, specialized events, and motivational speaking events. We're all about never giving up. I think a lot of times everybody in their life gets to a point where they want to quit or where they want to tap out, where they want to give in, where they're being pressured or the stress level is so high or the weight of the world feels so heavy. And you just want to tap out. You want to give up, whatever that means, respectively, from person to person. Sometimes it's leaving a job. Sometimes it's leaving a family. Sometimes it's divorcing your wife. Sometimes it's, deciding you don't want to parent your kids. Sometimes it's, it could be anything. Teen suicide is a big issue now. It could be why people turn to drugs and turn to alcohol where they just can't take it. And really through our events and different things, we want to educate people that, that's a part of the process. Like adversity and challenges and difficulties are a part of the process to success. It's a part of the journey, and you have to embrace that. Adversity can give you the advantage if you allow it. And so, you kind of have to recycle your pain and recycle your mindset to understand that that's a part of the training process. I mean, there's a training camp for football players for 5 to 6 weeks for a reason, to break you down, to get you built up for what's coming up in the future. And so many people want these great things in their lives, but they don't understand how to get there. They don't understand that it's very, very challenging to become the 1% of the 1%. It's very challenging to get that specialized CEO title or general manager title, whatever you're striving to get. I mean, if you want to make a certain amount of money, you want your family to be a certain way, there's a certain level of sacrifice that comes with that. And I think that people just think that success is supposed to be this easy road. And so we don't want people to tap out, man. I mean, there's many times as a ball player where you feel like giving up, and you just have to go that extra place, man, that extra mile to get there. And so through our events and through kind of our connections and partnerships around the state of Ohio, we do things to bring awareness and bring encouragement and to instill hope and to show people that, even though you're down, we can pick you back up, or you can pick yourself up. You can pick yourself back up just by changing your mindset to keep fighting and to keep pushing. And so that's really what we're about. We're about helping at-risk youth, families in need. That pretty much covers a broad spectrum, and we did it that way on purpose. But over the last 5 or 6 years, we've been able to give away over 500,000 pounds of free food to Central Ohio families, and feeding over 4,800 families enough food to last each one of those families a week's time worth of food, and mentorship programs at every level from an academic standpoint. I still get a chance to go over and lead the team chapel with the Buckeye football team. So we're touching a lot of different places and just letting people know that they don't have to give up and that they got to keep fighting, man, and that embrace the adversity, embrace the challenge, because when you come out of it, you'll be able to teach people how to do the same thing that you did. So that's what we're all about.
It's a truly incredible foundation, and I wanted to give you this time to kind of talk about this foundation. Do you have any events or projects that the foundation is doing soon, like any food drives coming up for the holiday season? I'd like you to talk about that a little bit because I know it's important to you.
Yeah, absolutely. We're extremely excited about our 7th annual holiday food outreach, Taylor, and so we're going to give away 100,000 pounds of free food. We're going to feed over 850 families enough food to last them a week. We have all types of entertainment, over 120 or so volunteers, all types of community partnerships and sponsorships going on. So we're excited about that. If you want to be involved, this is where you really can help tailor yourself or all your buddies and friends and all the listeners out there on campus and around the city of Columbus. If you go to drivenfoodoutreach.com, just $25 feeds a family for an entire week. drivenfoodoutreach.com, $25 feeds a family for an entire week. We can use all the help we can get. It's not just we're giving away canned goods. I mean, we're giving families steaks and chicken and pasta sauce, bread, cereal, mac and cheese, rice, toiletry items, plates and forks. You name it, that goes inside of that food box. And we really want to make sure these families have what it takes to have a holiday meal. I mean, so many people get wrapped up in Santa Claus and Christmas and toys and gifts.
Oh yeah.
That's fine, but it's the necessity of food that goes beyond just Thanksgiving and a Thanksgiving holiday. And so, again, that's drivenfoodoutreach.com. I know a lot of college students are listening. They're like, well, I don't have it to give. Anything helps if you got 10, 20, whatever, but you're going to spend at least $25 at Starbucks over the next 3 days. And so it just, you make a sacrifice. You make a quick sacrifice. You're like, you know what?
Exactly.
Taking down this tall latte Columbus eats. And so we're really encouraged about that.
And so many people, I feel like, forget the true meaning of Christmas, and that's to remember, to honor the birth of our Lord and Savior, and to help others. And sometimes we're too inwards thinkers about ourselves, and sometimes we're a little bit selfish. So I'd really love if everybody listening could help out with this foundation. I know I would personally love to get involved, Roy. I'd love to talk with you some more about how I could get involved. And then also another thing, are you still located on Lane Avenue before the football game? You guys used to have that table there, right? Right there on Lane and Neal.
We used to be on Lane and Neal. For 2 years we did a nice little marketing deal to get some information about Driven out to the Buckeye faithful. We're not down there anymore, but actually this weekend for the Minnesota game, Hutter and Cook Orthodontics will be hosting the Driven Foundation at their tailgate right outside of gate number 9. They have a big ambulance that's decorated with Ohio State, decals and
oh yeah, with all the Heisman Trophy winners on it and everything.
Yeah. So we'll be out there, raising money for Driven and our food outreach coming up. But we're not on High Street anymore, but we'll definitely be outside of gate number 9 for the Minnesota game this weekend.
That sounds great. And then also, you have a very deep relationship with God. You post all kinds of Bible verses and stuff on your Twitter all the time. It kind of brightens my day up when I see that, because sometimes we just need to be reminded of our Lord and Savior. And then also, there's a story going around, in the football community, and it's about this kid, Pedro Banda. He's the senior at Dysart High School in El Mirage, Arizona, who was thrown out of a football game for honoring God in the end zone after scoring, I believe it was the game-winning touchdown that sent them to the playoff for the first time in 20 years. What are your thoughts on that? This seems a little bit extreme, don't you? I mean, I just wanted to get your take on this.
I think that at the end of the day, when you're serving Christ, there will be things that are uncommon, or they're not really ordinary things that will happen from the outside to be a distraction. Again, remember earlier I said, adversity is a part of the process. And when you really look at the life of Christ, the majority of his life was dealing with adversity. And at least the last 3 years of his ministry, when he really came to the forefront and heading to the cross for crucifixion or whatnot. But it was dealing with adversity. And I tell people all the time, it's always interesting when Christians get upset when they have to face adversity. But here's the thing, when Ohio State's football team get on the field offensively, when Cardale Jones gets out there, there is a defense set up to stop him. You see what I'm saying? And so
exactly.
There is a defense, there is an adversary, there is an enemy on the other side. And so if you're living for Christ and living for your relationship with God, you have to expect and anticipate that there will be things that try to throw you off and discourage you from your faith. And so that's where being a Christian comes into play, where you got to fight through that. Just because you have a negative yard play or a sack or you throw an interception does not mean that you don't go back on the field because the game's over. It's just starting at that point in time. You know that they came to play, but you prepared, you prayed, you have faith, you have people around you, you go to church, different things going on. That's where you kind of put your foot on the gas and foot on the throttle and keep going forward, man. And so that particular play and that particular incident is unfortunate, but I know it brought a different light on a smaller town, on a smaller issue at a high school level, and Christians all around the world are chiming in now to start, orchestrating and displaying their faith and saying that, no, keep doing what you're doing. And so it causes conversation, and, what the enemy intended for bad, God will use for good. And so now all of a sudden you get people like myself and yourself and people listening right now that are like, no, that's not right. And so he should continue to live out his faith. And so I think it's a good thing. I think when Christians get challenged like that, it's a good thing. I know he's going to continue to get on one knee and give glory to God like he should. I mean, if he had did the nay-nay dance or did some type of whip or something,
exactly,
like
it would have been acceptable.
It would have been acceptable. And so it kind of more so shows you the mindset of the ref that did it. And so he'll get a chance to see the love of Christ displayed through the many believers that are coming to the forefront and speaking on this issue. And so it's a good thing that happened, because now that young man gets to see that being a Christian is more than just getting on your knee when you score a touchdown. It's about standing up in the face of adversity
exactly.
like he's going through right now.
Very much. All right, I have a couple more questions here for you, Roy. I wanted to talk to you about, you mentioned JT Barrett before we started the interview here, and his decision that he made this past weekend to get behind the wheel of a car intoxicated. JT has always been a great leader, and you are a great leader yourself. It seems like he's always done things the right way like you have. He's been a great student. He's been a tremendous leader, great football player, just an all-around great person. But it seems like, it almost seems like his life is crumbling around him because of this one mistake that he made for 3 minutes of his life. And it's a serious issue, for all the listeners out there. Just don't get behind the wheel of a car. I don't care if it's 2 beers. I don't care if it's 20 beers. Just don't do it. Just be safe about it for all of our listeners out there. But what is your take on this? How do you think JT should go forward from here, and how can this be a learning lesson for him?
Well, it's not just a learning lesson for him. It's a learning lesson for anybody that's a student athlete or anybody that's a student that's deciding to hang out. At the end of the day, you can't get behind the wheel of a car if you're drinking. And, wisdom, by my definition, is learning from the mistakes of other people. And so everybody says everybody makes mistakes. No, everybody doesn't have to make the same mistakes. Somebody else has already made a mistake. Why do you want to make it? So you learn from other people's mistakes. And I think the thing with JT that kind of let a lot of people down was the fact that we've seen this before from student athletes and then also from former Ohio State athletes that have gotten in trouble for doing this. And this is not to say anything about JT. He's a great guy, great man of Christ, and stand-up gentleman, a man of integrity, comes from a great family. It's just that for a second he let his guard down. And so that's the thing that we want to remember. You can't let your guard down. Being an Ohio State football player, being a student athlete, you're just on a different level. You just have to realize that. Remember that statement I said that Coach Tressel made, remember who you are. And
exactly.
So now temporarily his image is temporarily tarnished, and it'll be perfectly fine when it's all said and done. He'll probably lead us to another national title, and people will think that they'll completely forget about this incident, Taylor. But I think at the end of the day, if you mix alcohol, alcohol is okay to drink when you're 21. No, it's not. More people get in an accident over the age of 21 than they do under the age of 21. At the end of the day, people don't understand how to regulate or how to control themselves. And so alcohol and sports just don't mix. They don't mix for fans getting into fights in the stadium, and they don't mix for kids on the field. And so it's very challenging to get people to not drink. And so as a student athlete, you equate drinking with fun, and that's not the truth, which is why a lot of people spiral into alcoholism, because the only time they can enjoy themselves is if they become somebody that they're not. And so when I'm talking to those guys over there, there's no reason for you guys to drink alcohol. You know what's going to happen? You're going to drink, you're going to get drunk, you're going to feel horrible the next day. I mean, that's horrible. I mean, that's not fun to me.
No, it's not.
And so it's if you have to become something or take something to become somebody that you're not, and it's really not you, it's not even you having a good time. And so most of the time you don't even remember.
Exactly.
And so, I've had my fair share of alcoholic beverages, and, I wish I had somebody to sit me down and say, you're an idiot for doing this, because it doesn't even make sense. And so I didn't have that. People used to always say, no, just drink is, just do it in moderation and that type of thing. That's a lie, man. And so those guys, I tell them all the time, there's no reason to drink. If you want to have a good time, go out and have a good time, go to a movie. If you got a girlfriend or something, hang out with her or whatever it may be. And then if you do want to drink, do it in your house.
Exactly.
You don't have to go out, just do it in your house. And then you'll see, by drinking by yourself in your house is stupid. Like, I'm going to drink by myself, and then I'm going to go watch Netflix under the influence of alcohol. It's not fun at all. So,
it feels like I see so many people, I know so many people here in college that think that they have to drink just to have fun. If you have to have an alcoholic beverage just to have a good time, you're not having a good time the right way. There are so many other outlets. I mean, there are so many opportunities on college campuses, even just a small campus like Capital. There are so many organizations. There are so many events. There are so many we live in one of the greatest cities in America. There are so many opportunities out there than instead of just piling on some bus on a Thursday night and driving out to a club and getting drunk. It just.
So here's the thing: if you drink, I'm not. People are gonna get mad at me. That's the thing. I don't care if people get mad at me. All I know is the consumption of alcohol and the amount of money that we spend on alcohol and liquor and drinking and those different types of things, and the reasons behind us doing it are usually very negative. And so it's not like there's a celebratory act where, hey, we had a drink. Like, you don't have to drink, like, because if your parents are around, like, you can calm yourself down. And so, you know how to act the right way in front of the right people. Usually people drink when they can just do whatever they want to do. And so there's consequences that comes with those actions. And I'm just saying that, it's not necessary to have a good time. You can have a good time without drinking is basically what I'm saying. And so bad things usually come from the nights out where you can't remember.
Yes. And I just have one more. I want to end on a light note here because we've talked about some very serious issues. I just want to end on a couple of light notes. A couple of questions. What is one of your favorite memories of playing at Ohio State? And also, could you tell us maybe like a funny or interesting story from when you played at Ohio State?
My best memory outside of winning the national title as a team in 2002 and beating Michigan in 2006 was just that senior day or that same game, Ohio State, Michigan. It was senior day, when my mom got to be on the field. She's used to being in the stands, would be on the field. And, I got to greet her, and she got some flowers and different things. And, we got to take a picture together on the field, and my sister was on the field right before the game. I think that was kind of a special moment because of how hard it was to get to that point and just to be able to share in that moment with her. Even though it was a senior day and the seniors were getting recognized, I felt like it was more of a recognition of the great job that she did at staying driven and staying committed to her children. That was the memory, my best memory and fondest memory at Ohio State. And then second, as far as the story goes, in 2002, Coach Tressel made a bet with then cornerback Richard McNutt. And he said Richard McNutt had the Allen Iverson cornrows or whatever. Maybe he had the braids to the back. And he made a bet with Richard McNutt that if we won the national title, that he would get his hair braided and cornrowed. And so we obviously go on and win a national title. They made this bet in the beginning of the season, and we go on and win a national title. And winter conditioning comes up, and guys are around, and Coach Tressel walks in with a do-rag on. And we're like, what is he doing, man, with this do-rag on? And he has his do-rag on. He comes over, and he takes his do-rag off at the end of that particular morning training, and lo and behold, he had his hair cornrowed and braided to the back, man. His little bitty hair. Richard McNutt's friend who was braiding his hair, it might have been his cousin or something, braided Coach Tressel's hair, and he kept it in for like 2 days, I think. I don't know if he did any on-camera interviews, but he kept him in for 2 days. But it just kind of let you know he's a man of his word. I tell you that much.
Oh, that's great, and I really hope that someday we get pictures of those because I know that would absolutely kill in the media. So I
don't know if those pictures will get out, man. I think that was an in-house thing.
Oh, I don't think he wants those photos to get out, man. All right, one more question before you go. Who are some of the guys you still talk? You still talk to some of those guys off those teams from Ohio State, like Maurice and all those guys?
Yeah, we still talk to a lot of those guys, and we do a lot of charitable events together. So we're always seeing each other at different functions. Or a lot of those guys still work with the Driven Foundation and come out to our events and support our cause. And so I get a chance to keep up with a lot of those guys. I mean, it's kind of hard when you leave Ohio State and guys go in so many different directions. But usually when you hit like 30, 31, I'm 31 now, and usually around that 30-year-old range, guys' NFL careers are kind of winding down or their careers are over and guys have families. And so you have a different relationship, but guys definitely get together to give back. And all the guys got together a few years ago when we celebrated that 10-year anniversary of the national title. And so that was a really good thing. And so when Coach Tressel got inducted into the Hall of Fame, a lot of guys were around this year as well. So we get a chance to get together pretty often just through charitable events and good causes.
I want to thank you for calling in today, Roy. It means a lot to me here as a small college student, just trying to make his way into the communication field. So I really appreciate this interview, man. I want to thank you for calling in.
Oh, my pleasure, Taylor, man. Keep up the good work. Whenever you want to have me on, just let me know, and we'll get it going, man. I truly appreciate your aspirations and your goals, man. Like I said, the separation's in the preparation, man. So keep preparing yourself for greatness, man, and keep pushing through. I look forward to getting on your show when it's on ESPN one day.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
There it is. All right, boss.